One of the words you hear a lot, talked about a lot these days is innovation. And I know I really drank from the Kool-Aid on this. I have a graduate diploma in innovation. But most innovation we talk about today isn't actually innovation. It's theater, flashy announcements, glossy LinkedIn posts, new pilot programs with super slick names. But behind the scenes, nothing actually changes. I recently read a really fascinating article by a guy named Ian Montgomery called The New Rules of Innovation. And I showed it to my friend Almero. He's the one who first got me into this. And I think it raises a really uncomfortable question. Have we accidentally broken innovation? I mean, if you look at the biggest innovations that happened in the last decade, are they really innovations, or are they just new business models brought on by technology? I mean, think about the explosion of platforms designed to extract little bits of money from every single transaction. I mean, it's gotten absurd. I'm thinking where this whole online betting is getting to. You can bet on basically anything and make money off of these transactions. It's wild. But that's not really innovation. It's more optimization. The key thing here is that technology alone can't create innovation, because AI and algorithms, they're designed to remix what is already known. True innovation comes from something much messier, human creativity. So Montgomery argues that real innovation rarely comes from the center of a system. It's from the adjacent spaces, or sometimes completely unrelated ones. Arts. I mean, I'm personally drawn heavily from sports, something that I love. Countercultural spaces are also really good places for innovation. Even spaces, especially places that polite society doesn't usually like to talk about. For example, I've recently drawn a lot of inspiration on what meaningful engagement means from the consent conversations found within kink culture. These spaces experiment in ways institutions can't. And there's another key insight here that public servants should really take seriously. People are more than just data. I know we love our big data, but you'll gain more from spending a day on the front lines of a service with the people actually experiencing it than you can from spending hours looking at massive amounts of data. The problem, of course, is that this learning is messy and especially uncomfortable for bureaucrats. So we avoid it, or are told to avoid it, because it's too risky or just too time consuming, or just not in the budget. Over time, something strange happens. The very practice designed to create innovation becomes absorbed into the system. They become safer, more sanitized. For example, minimum viable product. So a hallmark of innovation practices. Originally, it was meant to test bold ideas quickly. Now it often means what is the smallest, safest thing we can launch without upsetting anyone. And slowly, innovation becomes less about solving problems and then more about performing innovation for leadership. You know, a slick LinkedIn post or the presentation you do at a conference, instead of really impacting the communities it's designed to. So Montgomery ends with a really interesting idea. We often assume that we need to scale innovation, but maybe that's the wrong goal. Instead of scaling everything, some innovations should be in orbit around the system. I know, it's an interesting concept. Close enough that they feel the gravitational pull of the system, but far enough away that they're protected from the pressures that you find that make institutions slow, cautious, risk-averse. So in other words, innovation sometimes works best when it stays a little bit wild. For those of us trying to make government work better, this is a powerful reminder. Real innovation doesn't come from polished presentations or perfect dashboards. It comes from curiosity, from the edges, and from getting out of buildings, and from protected, messy spaces where new ideas are allowed to grow. If you're interested in the future of government and the people trying to build it, welcome to Civic Punks. This is a space for you.